going to go ahead and go to the next race here. District Judge, 483rd Judicial District. This is a new position, by the way. It was created recently, and there's currently a Republican appointee, but from Governor Abbott in the position now. So the candidates in this race are as follows: Joseph Aragon, Sarah Catherine Brandon, and Alicia G. Key. So we're going to ask the candidates to introduce themselves, and they have 1 minute. Again, the timekeeper is over here. So the first person we ask to introduce yourself to our audience is Joseph Aragon.
Yes, excuse me. Thank you. My name is Joseph Aragon. I'm a first and fourth generation Texan and United States citizen, so I want to thank all of y'all for the opportunity to speak in front of you today. I'm running for the 483rd District Court Judge position. That position is over 80%, 90% a felony criminal court. And so that's what I do for a living. I'm a criminal defense attorney and have been so for the last 13 plus years. I'm running for the office because I've seen a lot of courts all over Texas. I practice everywhere from Williamson County up in Georgetown down to Bexar County and a lot of other counties I've probably forgotten in the meantime. But I've seen a lot of courts and the way they operate, and I think I can make some positive changes here in Hays County. And if you're around the courthouse enough, I'm sure you hear some of the complaints about the district courts and how they can be run better. And that's my time, so thank you again.
The second candidate is Sarah Catherine Brandon. Please introduce yourself to our audience. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. A little bit about myself. I've been married 37 years. I have 3 children. I have 2 grandchildren. I was raised by my grandparents. I put myself through undergrad in criminal justice and social work. I always knew I wanted to serve. I've been practicing for 30 years. I've been an active litigator. I did close down my practice this year so that I could prepare to be your judge. Hays County needs a strong-willed Democrat that's willing to push back against an Abbott and, God forbid, a possible Trump an Abbott. Trump. I can't even say his name. And that's trying to slowly chip away at our well-settled laws that protect human rights, fairness, and equality. And that's why I'm running.
The third candidate is Alicia G. Key. Alicia.
Hi,
Go ahead.
I'm Alicia G, and I'm running for district judge, and I'm the candidate with the best chance of beating that incumbent Republican appointed by Greg Abbott. I'm the only candidate with experience trying both criminal and civil cases. I've been a judge before. I taught criminal law and criminal procedure as an adjunct professor. I was the administrative director of the State Office of Court Administration, the agency that oversees and provides technical support to the judicial system of the entire state of Texas at all levels. And for many years, I was the statewide director of the Child Support Division of the Office of the Attorney General, overseeing 1 million cases. I understand the processes and the technologies that can be improved to address the civil backlog in our courts and to address the backlog of all those people sitting in jail waiting to be tried on criminal charges. I invite you to look at my website, keyforjudge.com, for a complete list of my qualifications, my 26 years of public service, all my community service, and my awards and so forth. And I thank you, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Now we're going to reverse the order, and we're going to send this first question to Alicia Key. What qualities and qualifications do you believe make you well suited for the role of district judge in Texas?
Thank you. As I mentioned, I have the knowledge of law, both criminal and civil, and the experience. And to talk about the temperament a little bit, I learned from I've lived my life by 2 guiding principles. One I learned from each of my parents. What I learned from my mother was be kind. treat everyone you come across with dignity, respect, kindness, take care of each other. And I've learned in my life and in my legal career that if I do that, if I treat everybody with courtesy, dignity, and respect, it's much easier to get things done. It's much easier to accomplish things. And I would translate that to my job as a judge. Also, I learned a lot in the child support division in the Office of Court Administration about managing large problems and large systems. And I could bring those to bear in addressing all the issues facing our courts and modernizing our courts. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to ask the same. I'm going to repeat the question for Sarah Brandon. What qualities and qualifications do you believe make you well suited for the role of district judge in Texas?
Well, I've been a litigator for 30+ years. I ran my own law office, and I have continually and tirelessly committed myself to the Hays County citizens. I've volunteered and I've served on the board of Hays County Caldwell Women's Center for years. I feel that our youth are very important and they need to be heard and understood. I think that I'm very good at listening to not only all the facts of the case before I make a decision, but I make sure that people not only feel heard, but they are heard. I've seen many judges check out in the middle of a case, and I won't do that. I will listen to each side and each of the attorneys, and I'll give them the respect. I have stood up against unpopular judges, and I've pushed for equity in our courthouse and so that people could be heard. I was the bar president of the Hays County Bar Association for 4 years, and I served as a board member for 23 years. I've sometimes been unpopular because I've stood up to people that were bullying or being bullied in the courtroom. And I will continue to make sure that everybody feels heard, they're treated with fairness, they're treated with kindness and dignity.
Now we'll repeat the questions again for candidate Joseph Aragon. What qualities and qualifications do you believe make you well suited for the role of district judge in Texas?
Thank you, Willie. You know, the courts, I'm in the courts every day. So I was in court this morning, I was in court this afternoon, I was in court all week. I think today the tally was 4 different judges today and negotiating with about 6 different prosecutors today. And so day in, day out, I run my practice all over Texas, and this is exactly what I do every single day, sometimes 7 days a week. And so, you know, I think my experience, having seen multiple courts, both district, county, even JP, I've actually had trials in, I was talking to another candidate about having a trial in a city hall meeting room just like this. I believe it was in Leander, right? And they weren't used to having jury trials, but, you know, when someone wants a trial and they're entitled to it by the Constitution, we're going to have one. And so, you know, wherever I'm called to by my clients, I go. And so I've seen a large number of courts across the state, some that are run very well and some that are not. And so I think my experience in that perspective well suits me for this position.
Now we're going to reverse the order once again for the last question. This question goes to Joseph Aragon. How would you describe your judicial temperament, and can you provide examples from your legal career to demonstrate your ability to remain composed, patient, and fair-minded in the face of challenging or emotionally charged courtroom situations?
Yes. So earlier, I know that was a question to some of the other candidates, and I know that I think every lawyer has some stories about things getting kind of heated in the courtroom, and I can't tell you how many times I've had officers after a trial come and shake my hand and thank me for being cordial, right? Because I don't believe in the courtroom you have to be so mean and nasty that you have to make enemies of people. You know, whenever I have a jury trial, for example, and I'm having, you know, meeting the same prosecutor day in, day out for 9, 10 hours a day, once we have a verdict, I see that same prosecutor the next day. And so while things may get contentious, I see the same judges, same prosecutors. It's actually a much smaller world than people think. And so having a successful practice like I have, you don't have that without having good relationships with judges, court staff, prosecutors, and making sure that whenever you say something, they believe you, because your integrity and your word is all you have. And so, treating everyone with respect, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be victims of crimes, whether it be defendants, or especially court staff, because they're the ones that are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Yeah, I think that's paramount to this position.
Now, I want to repeat the question for Alicia Key. How would you describe your judicial temperament, and can you provide examples from your legal career to demonstrate your ability to remain composed, patient, and fair-minded in the face of challenging or emotionally charged courtroom situations?
Yes, Mr. Aragon is a hard act to follow because I agree with what you said. I've been in many courtrooms where I've seen people act not so civilly to each other, and it results in a bad outcome for everybody involved. I've seen judges who didn't act with dignity and courtesy, and they made their participants or people participating feel like they weren't heard. But in my prior service as a judge, I had lots of cases where I had to deliver hard decisions that people didn't want to hear. And I learned that if you treat everybody with fairness and even-handedness, once you explain the decision, they're lots more willing to accept it and go about their business if they perceive that you're being fair and impartial. Also, in my role as an administrator of a large agency with 2,000 employees, I've had to deliver hard decisions and tell people things they didn't want to hear, administer bad news or discipline. But I can tell you I was pretty popular. I've been told I was the best administrator the agency had. That's because people respected my ability to be even-handed and fair and consider everybody's position, listen to everybody, and make sure everybody's given a fair shake. I would, in my courtroom, that was my history. I could diffuse a situation where people got unhappy by just being calm and listening quietly. And I can guarantee that everybody who leaves my courtroom, no matter what their financial situation, their race, gender, their station in life, or their past mistakes, they're going to believe they've been given a fair shake. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Again, this was the race for District Judge, 483rd Judicial District. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mind not being in the hot spot.
I'm sorry, I accidentally marked you as answered.
As what?
I accidentally marked you as answered. I'm sorry, that's my fault there.
Just remember to mark me on the ballot.
How would you describe your judicial temperament, and can you provide examples from your legal career to demonstrate your ability to remain composed, patient, and fair-minded in the face of challenging or emotionally charged courtroom situations?
Well, I would have to echo everything that Mr. Aragon and Ms. Key said. I think that as a judge, we are to be an example for all of those that are in our courtroom. And that's very important. And I am, and I want to be that example. Any behavior that's not exemplary in my courtroom or lack of preparedness is not going to be tolerated. But I will speak to those people with the respect and dignity that they deserve. I've had many situations in family law cases, especially, they can become emotionally charged. And I've had lawyers scream at me on the phone and tell me what a piece of crap my client is. And I always say, well, I don't think there's a judge on the phone and you're not going to convince me, and it sounds like you're having a bad day. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to end this conversation and let's talk later. I just try not to get personal. People will try to get personal with me. I just don't get personal back. It's an exercise in futility. But I just think that if you just give everybody the time of day, listen carefully, and treat them with respect, I think that that's the kind of conduct that we want, not only just of our judges, but of our litigants and of the attorneys in the courtroom.
Candidates, This was the race for District Judge 483rd Judicial District. The candidates for the next race, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1, Place 1, Place 1.